Still spinning. Hey guys, welcome to another TFL Today show, and with me as always is my man.
Hey, it's Nathan. How you guys doing?
And Nathan, today we're doing a really fun top 5 list because these are 2018 cars that are no longer with us.
Well, that's right. These are actually vehicles that are not coming back in 2018. Now, here's the thing about this. Keep in mind that vehicles like what you're about to see are still in production. So they're still on the website of the automaker. But from what we've gathered, they're disappearing. And we have sales numbers from last month, and we're going to tell you all about them.
All right, well, let's get right to it, Nathan. What is number 5? It's right on the screen there.
It's the Volkswagen Touareg.
Why is the Touareg going away?
Because they sold 386 of them last month, and also because the Volkswagen, what is it, the Atlas?
Yes.
Yes.
So I love the Touareg. It was one of my favorite cars, but unfortunately, it wasn't such a great favorite here in America. And you know, this is an old story, Nathan. It's a story of right car, wrong brand, right? The Touareg was built on a chassis that was shared with the Porsche.
And Audi.
And that made it very expensive. So I think it started production in 2002. First generation of 2010, and then I got to go to the launch of the second generation, and I was really impressed by the vehicle. Not only was there a hybrid, but there was a diesel. You know, Volkswagen saw the fact that crossovers were becoming red hot in America, and they wanted to capitalize on that with the Touareg. Unfortunately, in Europe, Volkswagen is a premium brand.
Right.
In America, like the Phaeton, it's not a premium brand. And so to sell a car that's $50,000, $60,000 out of a Volkswagen dealership, even though the car itself was a great car, it's a very uphill battle.
Yeah, it's a tough sell in the United States. And by the way, all of these vehicles, they are being discontinued, at least for sale in the United States. Now, from what I gather, and I think you mentioned it too, the Touareg will still be selling overseas, just not here in the United States.
Yeah, and like you said, Nathan, it's going to be replaced by the Atlas. I think the other problem with the Touareg was the name. It's named after an African tribe, and I love the fact that Volkswagen is still using real names for their cars as opposed to alphanumeric designations. But it's, you know, I've been writing about this car for 6 years now, and I still can't spell it.
Yeah, well, speaking of spelling, here's another one that has an unusual name, and that's the Hyundai Azera. That's another vehicle that will be discontinued for the 2018 year. Now, it is basically a premium Sonata is one way to look at it. Front-wheel drive. It is a fairly luxurious car. We recently drove one and we liked it quite a bit. Last month they sold 502 of them, which is not a lot.
Yeah, and you know, with Hyundai creating its new upper-tier brand Genesis, right? This is kind of falling in between the cracks.
Yeah.
So I thought it was actually a very good car. It competes with cars like the Toyota Avalon.
Yep.
It's a full-size sedan, and it's got two things that probably didn't help the car, and that is, one, it's a sedan.
Yes.
Nobody's buying sedans.
Well.
And two, once again, it's a very premium and expensive car being sold by a manufacturer that doesn't necessarily have a premium cachet at this point. And so it's like the Touareg. It's, you know, it's right car, wrong brand. There's nothing wrong with this car. I mean, they knocked it out of the ballpark in terms of its, I think, styling and its interior, its riding comfort.
It's quiet.
Yeah.
Now, I recently drove the 2018 Hyundai Sonata, and I think what they've done is they moved it up just a little bit to sort of compensate for that. And as such, when you're looking at this car, you can really see that the size, they're really not that far apart, and I think that's part of the problem. You really have two cars that are trying to inhabit the same space. And the Hyundai Sonata is a much better bargain.
And by the way, guys, if you're looking for a review of the Sonata, we just published it this morning on TFL Car. So Nathan, your thoughts. And actually, why don't you tell me your thoughts? What'd you think of it?
Yeah, you know, it isn't just cosmetic. There are a lot of cosmetic changes, but they actually changed the steering around and the suspension around. And I drove the turbo because I like fun, and it was a hoot to drive. They really did make a good car. Does it compete against the Toyota Camry? That's difficult. It's a good car. So when we get it here to Colorado, we'll really be able to shake it down and find out.
Yeah, and like I say, you know, this was just a more grown-up version of the Sonata. It was also more expensive. It's a good car, but it's one of those cars that just, you know, it's like a round peg in a square hole, right? It just doesn't fit within that brand. And it's a shame. And once again, I don't think they're discontinuing it throughout the world, just here in America. So a lot of these cars are being discontinued here in America, but they still will be available in the rest of the world.
Yeah, and one thing, guys, you should keep in mind is that the sales numbers that we're giving you are only for the United States. Speaking of the United States, this vehicle for some reason has never sold well here, and it is the BMW Z4. It is going away.
Yeah, BMW is continually adding new cars, but one of the cars that it is not adding, of course, is the Z4. And I think the problem with the Z4 was that it's in a segment that isn't growing, but it's shrinking. So it competes with cars like the Porsche Boxster, the SLK Mercedes, and two-seat convertibles are just not red hot. And then BMW brought the 1 Series convertible, and it kind of competes against the Z4.
Yep.
So it's how many did they sell last year, Nate?
12.
12 last month.
12, not 12,000, not 1,200, 12 in the United States. Now, bear in mind that the Z4 technically has been around since 2002, and they did completely redo it. One of my favorite cars, by the way, Roadsters. Fantastic car. Even the 4-cylinder was great. Unfortunately, Roman's absolutely correct. There's just a very small audience out there for this vehicle. And we're hearing that they will be replacing it with the BMW Z5, which they are supposedly working on with Toyota. So Toyota will put a Supra on that platform, and BMW will have the Z5 on that platform. That's what we hear, at least. All right, let's move on to one that actually kind of surprises me because the numbers are pretty good, and that's the Jeep Patriot, which has been around forever.
The reason that the Patriot's, of course, going away is that there's a new vehicle that's replacing it, which is the Compass. So the Compass is kind of taking the Patriot's place. How many did they sell last month? They sold a lot.
Yeah, they did. 4,752, which is, compared to these other ones, it's sizable. But part of that has to do with fleet sales. Part of that has to do with major discounts and major rebates. The Jeep Patriot is on an extremely old platform. And once that is finally gone, their oldest vehicle is going to be the Wrangler, and that's going away, obviously, to the new one. So the Patriot, yes, it sold well, and it wasn't a horrible vehicle. It's a decent all-wheel drive car, and it can do, rocky terrain. But it's, once again, an old platform. And if you look at the new Renegade and also the Compass, those vehicles are on a much more advanced platform. They're lighter, they're more efficient, better off-road. There you go.
Yeah, the Patriot was one of those cars that you went to a Jeep dealership, and recently I heard the word called switch car, which is a car that you go in and you want to buy a more expensive car, but you can't quite get there, right? So let's say you want to get a Wrangler, which is $25,000, or let's say that you wanted to get for a while before Liberty went away, the Liberty, right? Which was a more expensive car. You could always switch into the Patriot, and so they sold a lot of them, but mainly it was due to discounting. These were inexpensive cars to make. They were inexpensive cars at the dealership, and like you said, Nathan, they sold them to fleets. So, this was a car that was probably not one of Jeep's best vehicles.
Yeah, but very popular because they are inexpensive, and their all-wheel drive capability was decent. It really was. In snow, I've driven them several times, and they've all been pretty good.
I gotta say, it's probably the least expensive Jeep and least expensive like Jeep all-wheel drive, four-wheel drive vehicle you could buy. So that alone will tell you why they sold over almost 5,000 last month.
Yeah, and the big question is, how long could they keep building it? I think for the next 3 years if they really wanted to. I mean, they keep selling them and in good numbers. All right, let's get to number one, which, now, bear in mind that we don't have the exact numbers on this vehicle. However, it has been announced, even Honda announced, that this vehicle is going away for 2018, and that's the Honda Accord Coupe.
Yeah, of course, there's a new Honda Accord coming. That was unveiled on Friday. It's on our website if you want to check it out. It's a pretty cool looking car. They've really updated the look of it. But in general, the Coupe was probably the least selling of the different variations on the Accord platform.
Yeah, Coupes are just not selling like hotcakes. They never really did, but they used to have a decent sales number. The thing is that Honda went and built an all-new vehicle. They have the new Accord. And the new Accord, by the way, no longer has the V6. They're using four-cylinder engines, including a really hot four-cylinder engine that you'll be able to get with a manual transmission in the Sport model, and I believe one other model for the Accord. Now think about it. You got a car that has a real fastback looking design, so it kind of looks a little bit like a coupe, and the performance is probably going to be off the hook. And the bottom line is, well, they'll be able to sell those cars. They can't really sell very many of these Accord coupes.
Yeah, and I wouldn't be surprised if at some point the coupe doesn't come back. Maybe the first model year, they're only going to have the four-door
Right.
sedan, but I wouldn't be surprised if the coupe comes back. I love this design. I thought it was sexy. I thought it was fun. I thought it was, the one you wanted to get. Unfortunately, you give up headroom and you give up legroom
In the back.
in the back of that thing, and you give up, the ease of entry. So if you're buying a sedan, probably you want all that, and the coupe didn't have it.
Yeah, and the other thing is that Honda recently went through a lot of trouble to make a very good Honda Civic coupe. And it's a good car. And the backseat room and everything else are almost on par with the Accord. So it's kind of one of those things where they can sell the Honda Civic coupe, the Honda Accord coupe not so much. Now we do have a bonus, Roman.
Yeah, what is the bonus, Nathan? Is there another car? Now we're doing this list kind of early because about this time of year they start announcing the cars that aren't coming back. So we wanted to kind of be first. Remember, you saw it first in the fast lane car. We're always trying to be first. So there's probably more coming, but these are the ones that so far have been announced. What's the bonus?
The Lexus CT200H. That's their little hybrid. Basically, look at it as a very fancy schmancy Toyota Prius. Very similar engine, similar output, and this vehicle actually handles really good for a hybrid, but unfortunately sales numbers have dropped down. Last month they sold 615, which for Toyota is an abysmal number.
I love this little Lexus. It's one of my favorite little Lexi, and I think the issue with it is it's more of an economy car coming from Lexus than it is a luxury car.
Right.
I mean, it's a hatchback. It's pretty small, but I think this is going to have that same story that the Volvo hatchback had, where it wasn't a grand seller, but then people wanted it once it stopped once it stopped being produced. Because I could see my mom in this car. This has a very elastic group of buyers for it, right? It could be a car that retirees would want because it gets good fuel economy, and it is a Lexus, and it is actually one of the least expensive Lexus you can buy, right?
Yeah, one of the least expensive.
It's the entry level Lexus, or it could be a great car for, let's say you're, even though it's a Lexus, even though you're a first year grad from college, might not be a bad car if you're looking for that kind of quality and luxury that's associated with the brand.
Actually, I have a niece who's going to USC. This will be like the ideal car for her because she's going to grad school there. But the other side of it is it was never fast enough. This is a car that looked fast.
It wasn't.
But it wasn't. And there were companies out there that were saying, look, you could put a turbocharger in this thing and go really, really fast and lose very little MPG and whatnot. I wish they could have done that, but this is Toyota that we're talking about. They don't take risks like that, which is a shame because it looks like it'd be just a crazy fun car to drive fast.
Yeah, you know what? It's very similar to, Nathan. Last year, Honda announced that they killed the CRZ.
Yeah.
Which was a Civic, basically, that was supposed to be a sporty coupe, but it wasn't sporty and it wasn't really fast.
Yeah.
It didn't sell for those reasons. This is very similar, right? I mean, they put the word sport on it, but it's not sporty. It's basically a very luxurious, very comfortable economy car.
However, Honda did build a kit that you could get, I think, factory installed with the supercharger, and suddenly that woke up the performance, but it was a little too little, a little too late. This is the bonus. Now, guys, we're hoping that you have a few cars to throw in the mix. It was actually kind of difficult to find 5 vehicles that truly are going away for the upcoming model year. So we want you to, write down below. Even if we're not broadcasting live anymore, this video will still be able to be reviewed later on.
Yeah, and guys, I've got a feeling that we're going to see more of these cars. So we kind of saw the high watermark of car sales last year. I think we reached 17 million units, and now we're flattening out, and I'm sure we're going to start to go down that curve. And as car sales decline, I think models are going to be discontinued. And so I think this is the beginning of a lot of different models that, that are probably going to go away.
Why do you guys have to put? I just don't even want to see it.
So you know what I want to see in the comments?
What?
I'd love to get your suggestions for the cars that are hanging on by a thread. The cars, the cars you think are here but may not be here this time next year. So we'd love to see those as well. And keep in mind, Nathan, we do have a new publishing schedule now that we're sticking to pretty religiously on both car and truck YouTube channels. So we're going to give you a new video on truck on Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays. And the other days, we're going to have a new video on car. So the other 4 days, like today, of course, is your Sonata review. Go check it out. It's a really good review, and you can check out the new Sonata.
All right, guys. Well, thank you so much for joining us. I hope you had as much fun as we did going over these poor souls that are about to die.
Why are you knocking the Aztec, dude?
Are you kidding me?
Nothing wrong with that.
Guys, now I have to go home and like shower in a hot shower to get the grime off me of that thing. I hate it.
Do you have a comment, Andre? Andre's got his hand
comments.
up, yeah.
Yes.
Well, there's a question about the Ford Taurus because somebody said 2 years ago it was going to be discontinued. It's still here.
Yeah, I know. It's one of those things where it just won't die, and I think that's one of the examples of hanging on by a thread. Ford has been really weird about what they're doing with the Taurus. Now, I mean, look at it this way. The Fusion pretty much beats it in almost every way or ties it. So basically, when you get a Taurus, you're paying more money for a car that has almost the same capacity as the smaller vehicle that's less expensive. So supposedly they're working on a replacement, but we'll have to wait and see when it comes.
Yeah, and you know that large American car segment, which includes the Chrysler 300.
Yeah.
Right. That whole segment is also hanging on by a
It's
thread.
kind of doing a little bit of a tailspin.
Yeah.
Those bigger cars are really having an issue.
Everybody's going to crossovers.
Well, yeah, a lot of people are. I mean, remember, the mid-size segment is still doing very, very well. But at the same time, you got these other things that are rising that are going to kill, especially these big cars. And unless they're doing something really special, people just don't want them.
I was just talking to a guy who just bought one of these, the EcoBoost version.
Yeah.
The sporty one, which has a lot of power.
Yeah.
And he got a screaming deal on it. I mean, if you want a fast family sedan, this isn't a bad way to go, especially if you like speed, because the EcoBoost version of this is fast.
It's a twin turbocharged V6. It's a monster.
It's a monster, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, those things have been known to go
The
really
SHO
quick.
version.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So yeah, there are maybe that's another thing, good car bargains, new car bargains. That's another video.
Maybe we should look into that for next week.
Yeah. Well, anyway, once again, guys, thanks for watching. As always, This is Roman.
And Nathan.
Saying see you guys next time, and check out tflcar.com for more news, views, and of course real world reviews and TFL Truck for the same thing for trucks. See you guys next time. Ciao.
Zai Jen.